And so this operation was sort of a failure, except we now know where it went. And that it's now on land. Yeah, there's more to Neville Valley that we haven't explored. And that's exactly where we, the fallback option, come in. And you know, it's not like there's a smaller group right in front of you, right now, hint hint. Well, I mean, it's simple. We go in there, likely find a whole bunch of chests for no apparent reason, and then we fight a dragon. Simple. Really simple. And finally, they can meet back up with us. And this is actually why I went out of my way to talk to that guy in the house when we were last in Neville Valley. That's who Agate's talking about. The guy who makes weird stew. No, definitely not. But we tried giant saws on that last game and that didn't work at all. Yeah, that was that express package for Agate. All that research into breaking the gospel and FC actually isn't forgotten. Russell kept on trying to find a way, and it looks like he succeeded. So we actually have an anti-gospel device now. Of course, let her handle the technobabble. So it's a one-time thing. That could be a problem, especially when we have to hit a moving, rampaging dragon with that, and we only have one shot. Yeah, again, that's easier said than done. Huh, nice one. And so at this point, Agate and Tita are forced into our party. We only have room for one more, and given they're both physically inclined, I like to choose a more magic-oriented party member for this, either Olivier or Chloe, so I'm gonna go ahead and choose Chloe for this. The dragon is a Legend of Liberl after all, so it only makes sense for someone so tied to it to help deal with it. Well, we all know that once she's set her mind to something, she's not gonna back down. And we have brought out the tsundere and agate. But yeah, it seems like the two of them had a lot they needed to talk about, and now they've got that all out in the open. And right on cue, Bose music. Now, one quick thing that I want to point out here. There actually is a new monster quest available now. We're going to put that off until later. It'd be really awkward to rush off and do that right now. We're going to head straight to the dragon. No more stalling. Before we go out to the dragon though, there's a very easily missed issue of the Liberl News that you can only buy now. Thankfully, there's no achievement for reading all of the Liberl News in this game, so you don't need to worry about getting it, but I'm going to do it just for completion purposes, and I guess we'll read it right now. So, breaking news, ancient dragon appears, Bose market flattened by legend. I doubt any words are needed for this edition. The photograph says it all. This is the dragon that appeared yesterday at noon in the city of Bose. The dragon flew in from the east, then proceeded to land on top of the Bose market. At a length of around 40 arge, its enormous size crushed the roof of the market, causing it to collapse, resulting in injuries. Afterwards, it flew west to Ravenue Village and razed the village orchards. Following its trail of destruction, it took to the clouds and vanished. The Royal Army immediately restricted airspace. Citizens flee damaged market. Crushed by the dragon, the domed ceiling of the Bose market collapsed and injured several persons despite the rapid response from the nearby braces. Some of the injured remain unconscious. The market is currently cordoned off, and it is unclear on when or if it will reopen. For the emblem of the city to be so damaged has been quite the shock to every citizen. Ravenue Village grieves over orchards. The dragon's attack on Ravenue Village reduced the orchards to ash. As Ravenue's main industry, their loss is a terrible blow. Queen makes an emergency announcement. After receiving reports of damage from across the region, Queen Alicia announced emergency support for the affected areas. The Queen has also stated that in order to prevent further damages, she would appeal to the Royal Army to respond to the threat immediately. According to persons within the army, a plan is already in the works. Currently, the dragon remains at large, and citizens will remain anxious until the plan is enacted. Legend versus reality. Dragons have always been described as moderate and intelligent in lore, but the destructive creature witnessed here seems a far cry from that idealized image. Specialists in ancient life confirm that the anatomy is the same. So what does this behavioural difference mean? As a being from before the Great Collapse, it's theorized that perhaps it may be confused by the change in environment. Regardless, the army has been forced to categorize it as a threat, despite the concern expressed by specialists. Before we leave town though, there's one thing that I want to show. If we check the mayor's house, Lila is awake, finally. This is a detail that's very easy to miss, since your first instinct is probably to go after the dragon, but she's probably still gonna be bedridden for a while, but at least it looks like she'll be okay. True, and that's what we're gonna deal with very soon, hopefully. Oh yeah, those two saved you, but please don't ever mention to Mr. Lenheim that you owe him a debt. Never mention that, it won't end well. Yeah, that's true. It's a bit suspicious that they've never really said anything. And yeah, I wonder how Osborne is reacting to all of this, if he does know about it. Then again, he has a tendency to know everything, so he probably does. Anyway, I'll see you at Neville Valley. So we get a bit of a scene when we arrive here. And, well, yep, that's pretty much all we get, so I'll see you over there. And here he is. I should mention though, when I said that we'd be coming back here later, this actually isn't the reason that I was thinking about. After Chapter 5 ends, we want to talk to Welmer again. Well, you're gonna freak out a lot when you hear this, so, yeah, there's a dragon and it lives right near where you are. This is probably the reason why you got this place for cheap. Or, like, unless he built it himself. Not really sure why he just lives out here in the middle of nowhere. Well, we have this vibrating state-of-the-art weapon that we're gonna thrust into its head and hope that breaks the mind control device on it. That's basically the plan. No, we know that. We know that from the fact that it shrugged off an assault from an entire air division. Weren't you listening to that scientist in the bar when he was going on about his crackpot theories? That may have been a good thing to tell us earlier. Just saying. I mean, he's got a point, but we're kind of everyone's best shot at solving this. And yeah, we have actually taken down a giant robot at this point that has, that was incredibly persistent. And I mean, Agate does have a point here. We fought some pretty crazy stuff. And we do have a plan. That's more than we can say from some of our past experiences. If you picked Shera as your companion early on, Agate would have actually helped you fight the Intelligence Division tank in Chapter 3, so yeah, we fought some pretty crazy stuff, as he was saying. So that quickly got him on our side. Just sending a couple of kids into a dragon's lair. Nothing too big at all. So yes, you actually cannot get to where the dragon is without Welma's help. Okay, west side. We're currently on the eastern side, so we're gonna have to double back a little. It was actually around the place where we fought the ghost epitaph earlier. Right up here, Welma's has actually deployed a log for us. So what he's saying is, there's free healing back at the hut if you want it. Does require you to trek a very long way back though. And see you, Welma. No, really, we will be seeing him later. We cross over this bridge. And head all the way up here. Now, notice how there was a cutscene trigger right there as we approach the cave. Now, this is something very interesting about this game that I found out during speedruns. So, this cutscene trigger is what spawns the boss at the top of this mountain. So, if you were to bypass that cutscene trigger, you could get to the top of the mountain and the boss would not be there. Just interrupting myself for a bit here, because this scene, I believe, is unique to you bringing Chloe. How you contact the army is a little different otherwise. I think you still use Sieg, but you don't end up calling him directly. I generally bring Olivier to this point, so this is actually my first time seeing Chloe's version. Yeah, you're telling me. Not only will Sieg do that, but Sieg will actually be back in time for us to use him in battle too. He is one impressive bird. Unless, like, Chloe secretly has an army of them and they just all are called Sieg and they all swap out for each other. But anyway, this is the Ancient Dragon's Dwelling, one of the best location names we've seen so far. And, yeah, that thing that we fought earlier as a monster extermination request, it's a basic enemy now, although it is a lot weaker, the Blade Fang. Okay then, that was kind of bad. So in terms of my augment setup, I've got a pretty standard setup on Chloe, basically the best setup that I can possibly have on her at this point, and I have Death Scream. Basically, she has EP 4, EP Cut 3, Action 4, basically all of the good stuff. Agate has Attack 4 and Move 3, I believe, and a few other things. I've set up a stealth so that she has La Fort, and I'm gonna need to use that in the boss fight. So, let's keep heading through here. There are just a bunch of boiled eggers. Have we fought the mini... I'm pretty sure we have fought the mini eggers before, but these might be a new version. But yeah, I have La Fort on a stealth because I'm going to be using that a bit later on.
Well, that takes care of that.
You can also fight the Shining Ponds in Neville Valley if you want to level up a bit. I'll just say the boss at the top of this place is actually level 70, but you don't need to be nearly that high to have a fighting chance at all. I'll explain that a bit later, but yeah, the Ghost Epitaph is a regular enemy too, so I really like the subtle implication here that all the monsters that we fought that were agitated throughout this region earlier in the chapter, they were all monsters who were native to this mountain and were scared away by the dragon's rampage. It's never directly stated, but it's easy to figure it out just logically, and I like that subtle implication there. So, as you can tell, we will be fighting Octobones later as well. Oh, nice death blow there. I was expecting Dad to cut that fight out, but no, Estelle just said, nope, I'm just going to one-shot this thing. So there are actually quite a few chests in here that we will need to make sure to explore all of the rooms thoroughly, so that we don't miss any. From here, we should head north first to get Buster Gear. There is nothing in the chest but spiders now. They all stare at you and clap. Bravo! How convenient that we get a weapon for Tina in this place. It's still a small area. It does seem to have better range than the one that she had before, though, which is kind of nice. I'm also a little frustrated that Agate is, like, slightly off of having 700 strength. You look under the chest, hoping to find the keys to a brand new airship! You don't find anything. Well, I mean, we were already flying on a brand new airship earlier.
Nicely done.
Tita is extremely close to leveling up. But through here, we can head, there's another Ghost Epitaph.
Nicely done.
And there's that level. So, out through this cave entrance, and we're outside. I really like the concept of this dungeon. I've always liked dungeons where you switch between the inside and the outside. I remember, like, off the top of my head, Dragon Roost Island was actually kind of cool about that back in Wind Waker. I love it when both the interior and the exterior portions are considered parts of the same dungeon. I just always find that really cool. And yeah, Cryon Bits are, basic enemies now. Oh boy, this is... If you've played Trails in the Sky the Third, now, if you haven't, you won't know why I'm saying this, but if you have played Trails in the Sky the Third, you will probably have some traumatic flashbacks, when seeing this dungeon. This place is revisited in the third, but under very interesting circumstances that are excruciatingly painful, let's just say. But we get a Tira Balm here. This treasure chest graduated at the top of its class at the Riches Royal Academy. Also, Estelle just kind of switched sideways there for a bit. Enobi shoes, I think we had some of those earlier. No. I think those are the male exclusive ATS boosting. Yeah, they are, but like... Right now, Olivier is the only male caster we really have, so not really all that useful, but inevitably when Kevin comes back, we'll certainly give those to him.
Care for a rematch?
Leathery tail. I don't really see how you can even carry the tail of one of those things around, but oh well, and I will definitely heal Estelle here. Those things hurt quite a lot. Oh, even Master Cryon is a basic enemy here.
Piece of cake.
Chloe's still a little way off of a level up, so I will need to heal her here a little bit. So what I was saying before about that cutscene trigger, it leads me into a bit of an interesting point I find. Despite being like a 2004/5 game, it's actually very well made when it comes to being pretty much sequence break proof. So, via Turbo, people have actually found ways to skip certain cutscene triggers, but doing so causes the next area to load without any triggerable events. And basically, you will not be able to progress the game without going around and triggering the cutscene like you're supposed to. Psychically sensing that there's nothing inside, you walk away from the chest without disturbing it. Oh, nice weapon for Chloe. It's empty, but if you planted a seed and kept going back to water it, you might be able to grow a potato or something. I mean, no reason not to equip this, but, yeah. If Julia was here, she could use that way better than Chloe could, because she also uses rapiers and is a bit better physically, but, yeah, may as well get that to Chloe. It'll at least increase the damage for chain crafts, I think. So, there is an example of this in Chapter 1. It's possible via, I guess you can keep it. It's possible via Turbo to skip the cutscene trigger for going into Genis Royal Academy for the first time. But if you do that,
Well, that takes care of that.
you end up in a Genis Royal Academy with no NPCs where you just can't progress unless you go back and activate the cutscene properly. As I was saying before, there is a cutscene here. Forgot about that. But as I was saying before, you can skip the cutscene trigger at the start of this dungeon. But if you do, this cutscene won't trigger, and the boss at the end of the dungeon will not be loaded, so you won't actually be able to progress. It's just kind of interesting. So I've kept a save file from just before, because in bonus footage at the end of the playthrough, I might want to at least try and show this. Because something kind of funny happens when you get to the top of the mountain. Well, pressure's on us to succeed in our mission, or that dragon's gonna get a face full of lead. We're actually getting pretty close to being done with this place, though. Let me see, how close are we to leveling up? Chloe is... Actually, Chloe's very close. And Tia needs another 600.
Piece of cake.
That was not actually enough to level up Chloe, so I need to fight one more thing. Into the mountain once more, and another Blade Fang. I'm kind of surprised we haven't run into Octobones yet. Because I know that they're in here.
Well, that takes care of that.
And there we go. That actually wasn't so much for the actual level. I was more wanting that for the EP recharge on Chloe. And yeah, right on cue, here's an Octobone. Only one of them though. They're a lot weaker than they were when we fought them as mini-boss enemies, but that should be pretty obvious. If there's only one who get a preemptive on it, it's really not too bad, but... Yeah, Chloe's arch damage compared to everyone else's physical damage is kind of absurd. We will actually still have quite a bit of use for physical attacks in the upcoming fight, though. Okay, it doesn't look like there's much else in there. Just want to make sure that I get everything in this area. More Seepeth, which is nice. If you're reading this, please send help. We've been stuck on this game for years. Lock team. So, yeah, that line is a lot harsher if you know the real localization history of these games. Yeah, it was a brutal, brutal process. Okay, that leads outside. Just want to make sure there's nothing that I'm missing.
Should have done that.
Okay, so let's head outside and fight this thing because Tita is extremely close to leveling.
Nicely done.
Hi, other Master Cryon.
Piece of cake.
Why do you drop fish eggs? That's weird. Okay, see that bigger cave entrance? That's where Ragnard is. We don't want to go in there just yet. We want to go in here first. Because inside here are the last chests in this place. I think I was saying that, yeah, we can go back to this later, technically, but it's kind of a hard place to reach, so I definitely want to get everything in here out of the way now.
Now that takes care of that.
Tyrrell Balm? I don't know what you expected. Misty Veil. There's nothing in the chest. You briefly wonder if you could use it as a makeshift boat. That one's new. And Reviving Balm. This chest remembers your previous visit and is none too happy to see you return. Okay, Misty Veil. Let's see what that is. Yeah, it's women only. ATS plus 30. Is that better or worse than the Holy Cloth? Okay, so the Misty Veil is the same ATS boost as the Holy Cloth, less arts defense, but also more actual defense, so let's go ahead and replace the Holy Cloth with that on Chloe. And, wow, that ATS stat is getting a little ridiculous. It's kind of interesting, because 600 for strength for this point in the game is actually not that high, but that much for ATS is very, very high. It's just due to how much higher enemy defense stats are than arts defense stats. Tita's so close to leveling up, I may as well get her one more level before I go in.
We're good to go.
Okay, speaking of Tita, that fight just showed me something. Tita has no quartz. I went through this entire place and Tita had no quartz the whole time. That was... okay then. Let's fix that quickly. And there's Tita leveled up. Oh, Vital Cannon 2, perfect. That is going to be very useful going into this fight. So, speaking of which, the fight is through there. First, I'm going to go ahead and use an EP Charge 2 to refill Chloe's EP. As for tactics, let's go, okay then. I want us to be kind of bunched up. Honestly, it really doesn't matter where we are in this fight. The balls can kind of hit you from pretty much anywhere, so starting close, not really that big a deal. And in terms of S-Break sets, let's actually go for Beatdown 2 on Agate because there's only going to be one target. True Barrage, Cannon Impulse 2. Yep, that looks good. And we had a few cutscenes and a whole dungeon to get here, so next time, we will be ending Chapter 5 and facing the dragon. See you then.